Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. I'm on the beautiful Barcelona campus of IESE Business School. I'm here with 3 alums of this incredible school who are going to talk about their journeys on preparing for a global career. And we have really, I think, 3 very different kinds of people who've pursued very different kinds of paths. So to my immediate left is Victor. And Victor is general manager for Amazon in Spain. So you are working very hard on behalf of Jeff Bezos. Congratulations. And Victor graduated in 2013, so he's been out for 5 years. Came to the school in 2011. Next to him, we have Christina. Christina is an unusual candidate. I bet you there aren't many pharmacists who actually go and get an MBA. Christina was a pharmacist and then decided to come here for an MBA to redirect her career. She's now working for a leading skincare company, and she'll tell us about that. Her job involves forging international partnerships and licensing agreements for distribution of the skincare line. And I guess your official title is what? Associate Manager for Europe?
Yes.
Very good.
Exactly.
And then we have an entrepreneur in the group, and that would be Timo. And Timo is the CEO and co-founder of a company called Cooltra, and he has a really interesting story about how he founded the company. He had been working for a multinational after coming to IESE, and he is an avid scooter cyclist, I guess. And your scooter broke down, and you found difficulty renting one while it was being repaired. And that was your aha moment, and you decided to create this company, yes?
Correct. That's 13 years ago.
Wow, 13 years ago. You don't look that old.
No, actually, it happened here in Barcelona. I was working in a multinational, Buetefisch, and I had a scooter. It's a great mean of transportation for this city. So actually, I had to give it to the workshop for a few weeks, and I didn't have a mean of transportation. So I thought, what would be a good idea to be able to rent it. And that's how it all started, no? And we purchased 25 scooters. Now we have 15,000. So and we changed a lot.
15,000?
15,000 scooters, yes.
In what different cities are you located in?
We are in Europe in 40 different cities in 6 countries. Yes.
Wow.
It has grown a lot recently.
Indeed. So let's go back to the very beginning. Why did the 3 of you decide to pursue an MBA to begin with? Christine, let's start with you.
So as you said, I'm a pharmacist, and I was working actually at a pharmacy, and to one point it was not enough.
You mean that's a boring job, let's
Yes.
face it. You're taking pills and you're putting them in little boxes and containers.
Let's say I had more to do, or I thought I could do more in my life than just that.
Sure.
And I was looking for something that could broaden it and that could open me more doors and to see what I could do further. So I went to an open day at IESE for an MBA in Madrid, and I loved the session. It was amazing, the case study, and I just thought that must be it. And
So that sold you?
That basically sold me, yes. It had a really good reputation. I loved the case study method, and it was very focused on people, which is also what has driven me throughout my career. So I started with pharmacy, I went to an NGO, I came here, and then, yes, I'm working in pharma, which is also very patient-centered. So,
Right.
Yes, that was...
And when you came, did you know what you wanted to do already, or were you still in the discovery phase?
I was in a discovery phase, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did not know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I knew that pharma was where I wanted to go, but I was quite open. I interviewed for other things as well, realized that commercial is the path I want to follow, and pharma fitted with my previous background. But yes, it opens you to whatever you want to do.
Right.
So...
And Timo, you were a consultant when you came for booze. Did you know what you wanted an MBA for?
I was pretty much sure that I wanted a career change. I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I thought this would be a great platform to get to know new ideas, to work and develop some ideas. And I actually did, during my MBA, I founded another startup. So Cooltra was actually my second startup. I founded one startup here during my school years, where I failed, unfortunately, after 1 year to close the business. But it got it all started, you know. This was a really inflection point in my career. At the beginning, after 3 years of consulting, I thought this is a good moment to take 2 years off to analyze different options and also just get to know other people from other countries, get great input from the professors.
And there is an entrepreneurial spirit that's part of the DNA of this school as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So did that inspire you to create your failed first attempt?
Sure. I mean, this is a great platform to develop an own business. There are many facilities. Just to mention some, for example, IESE is one of the only schools that has a VC fund, which is managed by the school and invests in new startups founded by school members or alums. So that helped me going. Then there is a business angel forum, which is a community of business angels that look at different projects, student projects, and they decide to invest. Then there are great entrepreneurial classes. So there's a big mixture of things that help to develop your own entrepreneurship project.
And yet when you graduated, you decided to go with Bertelsmann, right?
Yes.
Instead of start your own company. Did you feel?
No, it was a little bit different. I guess I have to explain that, because as I failed in my startup, I was totally broke, because first of all, I put in all my money in the first startup, and then I also took loans with personal guarantees. So there was actually no way other than going to work for somebody else.
Wow.
So so it's a little bit different motivation.
Yes.
For pure financial reasons. I stayed with Bertelsmann, incredible experience also. I worked as assistant to the CEO for 2 years here in Barcelona. But then I started again the new project. And here I am after 13 years still with it.
And having paid off the debts from the first one.
Yes, it actually took me 8 years. It was quite a hardship.
That's really an admirable story. So, Victor, why did you come and get an MBA?
So I'm a civil engineer, and I used to work
What kind of engineer?
A civil
engineer. Okay.
Yeah. So I used to work in structures, designing bridges and subway lanes. And that was a job that I really liked, and at that time, actually really enjoyed what I did. But then, the question came like, do I see myself doing this for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And the answer was no. At some point, there was a high level of monotony or repetitiveness on the things that I was doing. And when I decided that I wanted to pursue a career in general management, and IESE was one of the top schools, and then it was very focused on general management, right? And I think that, as Christina mentioned, very focused on leadership and people, and creating a positive impact in society. And this was something that was as well very important for me, and that's why I decided to do an MBA, and specifically in this school.
And did you know exactly what you wanted to do when you came here?
I thought I knew what I wanted to do, and then I changed my mind several times. In the first months, especially with banking and consulting coming so early in the recruiting process, right? It seems that for a few months, if you're not applying to those, why did you do your MBA? So I think that at some point I, kind of moved.
Are you the kind of guy who you fall in love fast? So consulting comes, you're in love with consulting. Investment bank comes, you're in love with that. Then next thing comes, you're in love with that. Huh?
So, at some point, I think I was moving with that, and then, I sat back and realized, this is not actually what I want to do, right? So, and then I kind of came back to the basics of why I had came here to do the MBA.
And you joined Amazon right out of the program?
Right after, in 2013, right after finishing here.
Right. So, to some degree, Chris and Victor answered this question, which is why this school for your MBA? So, Chris, you came here because you were turned on after seeing a case study discussion in Munich in the MBA program. And you came here in part because, and I'm sure there's overlap between the two of you, the emphasis on doing positive good and the focus on how people have to understand that a decision that they make affects others. And that's meaningful work. and there's purpose in it. And that is an important part of the culture of the school. So, but Timo, we don't know why you came here. Of all the other choices that you may have had, why did you come here?
Yeah, well, actually, as all of you and all of us probably did, we applied to different schools, no? So I got actually accepted by Harvard and by IESE, and for me, Harvard was always like my big dream. But actually, when I decided to visit both schools, and I fell in love with IESE for the people I met during the welcome day, and also the professors I met. If you start here, you develop immediately friendships, relationships, and that made me take a decision for this European program.
When you told your friends you turned down Harvard, what did they say to you?
Yeah, and my friends, it wasn't the problem. It was more the problem of my father.
Oh, okay. What did he say?
No, but he definitely understood. And looking back now, connecting the dots, it was the best decision I could ever done.
Yeah, clearly.
Yes.
Because it just set you up perfectly.
Yes.
Right.
Perfect fit.
And what were your observations at Harvard in contrast to the school? I mean, what did you see? I mean, you clearly identified with the people you met here, and you felt at home. I mean, the professors there are not second-rate. Professors here you really fell in love with as well. So were there any subtleties between the differences that really made a difference to you?
Well, I guess most important, it's at the end, and I think all of us who take business decisions or life decisions, at the end, you have to listen inside. No, what does your body tell you and your heart, where you feel more comfortable. No.
Yes.
So for me, it was that is more like an intrinsic emotional feeling that I had. This school is smaller. It's more private, more personal. I wanted to do an European MBA. I think I wanted to work on an international level, but within Europe. So here we are based in Europe. But otherwise, I think the level of both schools is very good. They both apply the case method. It's a different continent, no? So
sure. So you're going to get greater diversity among the student population here. You're going to get a more intimate experience, and there's going to be more focus on doing positive good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's roll the clock back again, and pretend you're about to apply, but now based with the knowledge that you have. What advice would you give to yourself as that person who is applying today? Chris?
No, I think I did. For me, it was clear that I did the right choice as well. I had no doubt throughout the whole process.
But less about choice, and maybe advice to someone who wants to come here. And what advice would you give them to prepare for this experience?
Talk to people.
Yeah.
Talk to the people around you. Talk to the alumni. And then if you want to talk to professors, that's great as well. Go to an open day, experience it.
How do you start that conversation with someone you don't know about a school? What do you say? I'm considering this school. What was it like? What do you say? How do you make that conversation happen and make it productive? Just
like that, like, hey, I'm thinking about joining business school. These are a little bit of introduction of who you are and why you want to do it. That's your motivation. And ask also basically what was the other person's motivation to join that school. Maybe there is an overlap. And what are the key points you considered or the key factors that made you take that decision? What are your criteria? Because we always see if the Financial Times, Economics, all these, they do rankings, but they have different criteria, right?
Wait a minute, they do rankings of programs? I can't believe it.
No, but they have, what I mean is that they do have different criteria than yourself would have.
Absolutely.
So then
Yeah,
it's about what
that's
do you value in a business school?
That's
and why
really
do
good
you want
advice.
to do it?
Because a lot of people look at rankings and they make their choice based on rankings instead of what the proper fit for them is. And the other thing about rankings is very few people understand what's actually being measured and how legitimate legitimate professors are. Right? So that's another problem. So Victor, give your younger self some advice that other applicants in today's world might be helped by.
So I think you just mentioned it. It's pretty much a matter of fit, and when you find the right school, you realize it pretty fast, right? So I think first you need to know where do you want to go, and again, this will change sometimes while you're doing your MBA, but what's your 15, 20 years long-term goal? And this will give you already some hints. There are schools that are more focused in consulting or banking, and then others in general management or other things, right? So this will give you already some idea, and then I think you have to feel it. You need to go to the school, you need to talk to people, alumni, and I would say in particular in this school, alumni are quite receptive, and if you know someone and you get in touch, and people are quite eager to explain why did they do their MBA here, how has this turned out, and how was their experience here, and then come to the school, talk to people, and feel how is it to get your MBA here in that school.
I mean, speaking to people who've had the experience is very telling, because you could really figure out how enthusiastic they are, how passionate they are about the experience that they've had, and then coming to touch and feel is a really essential part of knowing, hey, do I belong here or don't I? So Timo, advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Well, listen to your heart, no? When you visit the different schools, try to spend as much time as you can on the campus itself. Go to the, for example, cafeteria. Sit at a table where you don't know anybody, and just go forward and ask them.
Good advice. Sit at the cafeteria.
Yeah.
That's where you hear everything.
Yes.
You hear people complain. You hear people fall in love.
Yes.
You hear people moan about the worst professor they've had and the best professor that they've had that they praise. That's really true. Okay, so let's talk about what you really learned at the school that so far has been really helpful to you in your career. Chris, what would you say was one of the core things that you learned here that helped you make your transition into this other career?
So in terms of transition, it gave me the tools to do what I'm
So
doing
the
now.
basics of business.
Yes, which I did not have at all. And
You mean you didn't know how to read a spreadsheet or an income statement?
at all. I came here, was like, what are they talking about?
You didn't know what a stock market was?
No, it was horrible. Capital markets are...
Love that.
Yes. And in terms of people, for me, the key point was it's all about the right incentives. And it's how to... If you can identify that, then you'll get the best out of the people. And sometimes we trigger decisions in others just by giving them a framework that does not fit with them. So it's all also what our decisions, the impact they have in others. And
Right. Now, coming here as a woman is different than coming here as a man, because most MBA programs, the majority of the students still are male.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the teachers are male.
yes.
It is, like the business world itself, a relatively male-dominated culture. How did that play into your decision to come, and how did that play out when in the 2-year experience that you had here with the MBA?
Well, in general, I don't think there should be a difference between women and men. I mean, we definitely have different styles, but I think that's something personal also to the people.
Right.
And for me, it helped me a lot because, at least in IESE, there are, in my year, I think it was like 25%, which compared to other business schools was higher. Well, it helps you to see women in higher positions and how they act within the business world. So no, it was a really good experience.
Very positive experience for
yes,
you, coming as a woman.
Oh, yes, at all.
Yeah.
And I don't like to think that there should be a difference just because you are a woman or a man. It's just, I mean, it's different because it's different people.
But I'm sure you advise and mentor young women about their careers. Mm-hmm. And many of them may wonder, is an MBA for me? It seems that there's still a lot of women who don't think the MBA experience is for them, when it could be, and it could be life-transforming.
Yes, no, definitely. And it also depends on the point in your life that you take the decision. So But I encourage everybody that I think has just the spark of it or the idea to talk to other people, talk to other women who have been there. I have a lot of good friends from IESE, women who have done it, and they were very, very happy with the experience. And I do not agree with the fact that you should not do it just because you're a woman. So
Oh, yeah, sure,
So-
of course. So, Timo, I can imagine what you learned here, which is basically this school implanted the entrepreneurial bug in you, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
How did it do that? Were there specific professors, specific experiences that gave you the hunger to want to start your own company?
I think one of the things which is very helpful is that you see a lot of cases, no? So
Right.
during the MBA time, you see almost 1,000 different business cases. So you see different companies, no, in different stages, and that's something that I lived through the last 13 years. I started with me only, and now we are almost 1,000 employees. So it has been a tremendous experience. So I remember.
You should have a case study written about you.
Yes,
Do you already?
It's in process.
Oh, good. It should be.
And so there's a lot of things that I remember from the cases, from the situations, that we are now touching during this whole experience over the last 13 years. So that has been key. Secondly, I think here it gives you a lot of self-confidence for the future, because you're often here in difficult situation, or you have to solve different problems, and it's a mindset also. You know, when you're an athlete, you need to be convinced that you're winning. Otherwise, there's no way you can win. And so I think after this experience here, I'm very self-confident about, let's say, my business skills. So that's something that helped me to say something additional to Chris. And thirdly, it's about the network that I've made. The network of alums is incredibly high. You can try to contact future business partners, investors, employees. Actually, in our company, work a lot of IESE alums, which is great. So I would mention these three elements that help me.
Yeah, I think self-confidence is often not thought of, but MBA programs do breed a level of confidence that's extremely important to be successful in business. So, Victor, what did you learn here at IESE that really meant the difference to you in setting you up to be successful at Amazon?
So I would say it's difficult to say only one thing.
Yes.
So in my particular case, I would say I learned pretty much everything I needed in order to be successful in my career. I have a very technical background, so zero knowledge on anything, I would say, related to business at all. So, you know, I got a good background on finance, on leadership, on HR, and then probably, you know, so learning everything that you need from the different areas of the business, you know, in order to be able to lead one business unit. And then probably there was something, you know, more particular, like all the, say, like these cases that we were mentioning, and especially related to decision-making processes. I think this planted the right framework in my mind. Something that has been very useful is, you know, making sure, like, again, like most of the times, you make the right or wrong decision, not necessarily if you have the right knowledge on that topic, right? There's a significant component that is related to the decision-making process that we have in our minds. And in this sense, being, you know, self-critical with yourself, acting as devil's advocate, changing your mind a lot of times and making sure that you reevaluate that this is going to be the right decision and that you can ask the right questions to the persons that have the technical knowledge that you might not have in all the areas. I would say that working in this way, it has been super useful for you know, my career in Amazon.
Because there's a framework to come to a decision that you learn in business school, right? Yeah. I mean, all three of you have also mentioned something that's an important part and is somewhat distinctive part of the school, which is the case study approach. You know, Harvard pioneered that approach. There are only a few schools, however, in the world that have truly adopted and embraced it at a very big and deep level. IESE is one of them. So tell me how you experienced the case method. describe what it's like to be in the classroom. And I don't see any of you being introverts, but I wonder if, if I'm an introvert, would I prefer sitting in a classroom listening to a lecture as opposed to being on the spot and being cold called to recite the essentials of the case and my opinion on it? Wouldn't I be more comfortable there? Or is this exactly what I should do because I need to get over my introversion and be able to respond quickly and thoughtfully to any business challenge? Chris?
Well, I'm an introvert, so for me it was exactly that.
No, you're no introvert. Are you really an introvert?
That was exactly for me that I was forced to it because it's much more easier to just lay back and see how people are doing it.
Sure.
But the incentive from the professors is also that if you do not speak up, they will not listen to you and they will not be taking you like as you've been taking part of the class. So you may
Right.
do all the work you want. If you don't tell people that you've done it,
Right.
it's useless. And it's the same in business. You can do whatever you want. Of course, you need to work. That's baseline. But you need to tell people and translate to people your knowledge. And that's it.
And I set that up deliberately because I think really an important part of learning in life is to challenge yourself and put yourself in the situations that may not be immediately comfortable. So for an introvert to choose a case study school, you need to be to develop those skills and that they will be important to your success. So that was an important part of the equation that led you here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me your most embarrassing moment in the case study class, Victor. Come on, weren't you called upon? You were out late in Barcelona having fun, and you didn't read the case. Was there ever a case like that?
I think all of us probably at some point went to some case without having read that. I think, I struggled in the beginning with cases. Again, probably it's related to self-confidence that Timo was mentioning before, right? Like when you're not familiar with business and, you jump into these cases and you need to participate and then, have the feeling that you're going to say something stupid and most of it, or at least in the beginning, sometimes that can happen. The good thing is that it's a safe environment to fail.
Right.
And, there's nothing goes wrong if whatever you say doesn't make sense at all, but you're going to learn a lot, right, during that process. And I think it really pushes you out of your comfort zone more than any other academic or teaching way that I had seen before. And, there's a sentence that one professor here once said in a class and was, learning doesn't come without pain. And it's true, right? Whenever you're outside your comfort zone, then you're going to learn. If it's like too convenient and you're sitting in your chair just listening, the level of learning that you're getting is way lower than if you're participating, if you're being challenged by the professor or by other colleagues in the class.
That's right. In the gym, they say no pain, no gain.
Yep.
The interesting thing here is I think the pain is not coming directly from the professor. It's more even the peer pressure, because you have 70 talented, ambitious other people around you, and you don't want to bring down the level. So it's not a competitive environment at all, but it's a challenging environment. It's like playing on a very high level,
Right.
all time. And I think that's the most enriching thing of the case method is the different backgrounds. I mean, you can see already here the variety of our backgrounds that comes in this classroom from different countries. I think in my class there were, I don't remember, 25, 30 different nationalities. So female, male, different ages, different backgrounds, different primary studies. So that was really enriching. And I think that's where the real power is. At the end, the professor is nothing more than a facilitator, because the content comes out of the people in the classroom.
You just revealed the dirty little secret of every business school. That essentially most of the learning comes from your classmates, because they bring such varied experiences into that class. And particularly in a case study format, everyone has to provide and share their knowledge with each other. 1,000 cases, you said, is what is typical in the 2-year program?
Yes.
Wow. How do you prepare for a case?
Yeah, that's actually, for me, that was one of the greatest thing here at IESE. I don't know how to set up at other business schools, but especially in the first trimesters, you're basically together with a study group. So you are 7 or 8 individuals out of your class, and you meet the day before the 3 or 4 class sessions and prepare the cases. So that was extremely helpful, because that meant in a small group we were preparing during 1 hour before each class the cases, so we felt like well prepared and trained to hit it in the classroom.
And in your cohort of 70 people, for each class you'd have a different team. Is that right? Or
No,
you have the same team?
You stay with the same team, which I think is very positive.
Wow, so there's a lot of deep bonding
Yes,
in that team,
absolutely.
probably, right?
So you basically have 2 groups, if you want, actually 3 groups. No, there is the whole MBA year, and then you have the different sections, and within the section you have your study group.
Wow. Yep. So what did you learn here that you use in your job fairly frequently? Chris?
The decision making.
Decision making.
Yes, my job is basically based on problem solving, and as you said, it's some may be good, some may be wrong, but at least you have the framework to do it, and to try
Right.
to do it with the best decision with the information you have at that moment in time. That's it.
Victor?
So it's a decision making and leadership, which, you know, in my case, like leading a fulfillment center of 2,000, 3,000 people, that has been kind of something.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, and you know, and yes, it's almost like size of a small town. So, you know, for me, it has been this
Wait,
combination.
I thought there were just robots in those plants.
We have some robots as well, but those ones are easy to lead, right? So because
They do what you tell them.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about consensus management with a robot.
No,
right?
no, they would agree. They would tend to agree.
Timo, what do you use from your experience here
It's
that's been very helpful to you?
to add something new, communication skills. Here there's
right.
a very good communication class in here, and that helped me a lot. Very conscious now about my external, written, whatever communication. And you know, as a leader, it's one of the most important tools, not to communicate in all kinds of situations.
Now, do all 3 of you think you could be where you are today if you didn't have an MBA?
No way. So at least in my situation, I would say clearly no. You know,
Because
eventually,
Amazon would not have hired you, right?
well, there are 2 components. One is that the MBA would open doors, and you know, some companies, they have programs specifically designed for an MBA. So it's quite obvious that if you don't have it, you will not access that
And
program.
Amazon loves MBAs.
We love them, so we have a.
You're hiring 1,000 a year.
We hire quite a few of them, so we have this Pathways program that has been quite successful. This is one component, but the other component is, you know, once you are there, you need to show what you are able to do, and actually you need to deliver results. And this is the more important part, right? And this
Right.
is where I think I wouldn't be able to do my job without the MBA. Maybe eventually, you know, if I landed without having done my MBA, you land in the right place, and in 10, 15, 20 years, you would be able to learn the skills you need to perform that job. But definitely, at least with the MBA, there's a very clear acceleration of how you ramp up your career skills in just 2 years, right? And you can realize like the average age of people that are doing my job that didn't have an MBA and people that would have an MBA. Like there's an experience gap and an age gap there, and you know, it's because the MBA would accelerate learning these skills that you need to perform your job.
Right. Chris, would you have your job without your MBA?
Well, I agree with Victor that probably in some time, but definitely not now unless I'm doing it. I'm also a technical background, so there's no way I would be doing it without the MBA.
Right.
And also, as you said, it's about the capabilities it gives you to learn new things in a very short period of time.
Right.
And to get there. So definitely, I don't think so.
And Timo, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur, or maybe you'd be an entrepreneur, but you might not be as successful without the MBA. What do you think?
I think it helped me a lot in growing the business in the different phases. No, that's what I told about here. Inside the MBA, you learn different skill sets for different phases in the company. But some basic skills like hiring, like accounting, all the general management techniques that you need as a CEO. So probably if I differentiate my two roles, I'm the founder, but the CEO. I think the founding part could be done by many things. You don't need an MBA for that. But running a business as a CEO, therefore, it's definitely helpful.
Right. How helpful was career management here in shaping your choices and helping you as a candidate present your best self? Chris?
So for me, it was very helpful because obviously I had no background at all with this, with what I wanted to do, and so it helped me a lot because there were a lot of programs or helps that to get to know you better, and with that, it allows you to know where you want to go, at least, and how do I sell myself, or not, in that sense. So
Right.
where are my weaknesses? Where are my strengths? How can I apply it to this or this other job? And in the end, of course, there's a lot of self-work because it's you who has to do it.
Sure.
But IESE opens you a lot of doors to the companies through MBA programs, or just because you know an alumni there, or because they have heard of it. So it's very helpful in that sense, yes.
And Victor, like Chris, you came in not knowing exactly what you wanted to do. So I imagine that company presentations, career fairs, just conversations about what MBAs do in different industries probably was very helpful to you too, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in these career forums, you get all these bunch of companies coming here presenting, and they would bring alumni that are working there that just 4 years ago we studied here. Probably there's no one better that can explain you how would an MBA fit in that company than that person, right? So these conversations are really, really enriching, and to me it helped a lot as well in shaping where I wanted to go.
Right. Timo, how did you find the career management people?
Maybe I can answer it now from a different perspective because we are talking as recruiters to
Yes.
IESE, so I can definitely. It's the other side of the coin, no? We are getting a very professional service both for interns as for a full-time recruitment.
That's great.
That's outstanding. I mean, because at the end, if you look at it, this is a production site to produce talent for companies. So how it's at the end of the value chain, no? In a way, it's very important how professional you manage that, let's say, link with the company.
True, true. Now, a lot of people who look at the price tag on an MBA sometimes have to make the equation in their head, is it worth it? It's a big investment. It requires 2 years of your time and the opportunity costs of the compensation you're foregoing to be in an MBA program. And then there's the cost of the program itself. When you came in and you're looking at the return on investment of the degree, I'm wondering if you look at it differently today than when you looked at it as an applicant. Chris?
Well, now that I know it, I know it's worth it. So I think
It's a no-brainer for you.
Yes.
For you right now, it's a no-brainer.
no, I would do it again if you are asking me this. Yes, I would do it again.
But when you first came in, were you a little, I'm not so sure, or no?
No, I was slightly reluctant, yes, because there's always the implied risk. But as I wanted to do the career change, it was this or this. So.
Timo, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's the best investment that you can do in your education in general terms. I think money is not the right value. It's more the time. If you're willing to invest 2 years of your life to do that, I think the answer is yes, because on average we will all work probably 35, 40 years. So these 2 years are entire privilege. And if you invest 2 years of your time, you might as well go to one of the top schools.
Right. Same?
Yeah, so I think it's a matter of long-term thinking, and as Tim was saying, right, like when you think about it, you're 30 or 25, like still you need to work 40 years ahead, right? I bet that there are chances that you end up losing 2 years losing, by staying on the same role that is not challenging you enough during these 40 years, right? So definitely it's an investment. It's true that you have the uncertainty until you get a job, right? Until you get an offer. Once you finish or once you are finishing, you have that uncertainty. But definitely after having gone through that, I have no doubts that it was the right choice.
Yeah. You can buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, almost anything you want, but the biggest single investment you can make in yourself, the most generous gift you can give yourself, is education.
Absolutely.
And an MBA, it may seem costly in the beginning, I think, to many people, but the truth is, if you think of it as the most generous gift you can ever give yourself, other than falling in love and having a partner and a mate for life, it's this. It's enriching yourself and putting yourself in contact with other people who are smart, who are ambitious, who share your same values, and who will be your friends for your life. Which gets me to the alumni part and the network part. And Timo, you mentioned the value of the network. And there's someone out in the internet who provided a question to us and said, how were the graduates of the school helpful to you, and how? Want to take that?
Sure. First of all, I think there are two levels of alums. There's first of all the 250 or 300 people that have been in your year. So they know your face and your name. So with them, it is obviously extremely easy to contact, right? And then there is the other group of people that have studied in the years ahead or after, in positions. So obviously now we have a great technology platform on the IESE alumni website, so you can reach out to all of them. And it's absolutely incredible. I mean, how everybody answers within at least maximum 24 hours to any request. So I think that's the experience I have done, and that's also what I give back to any contact that comes to me, And sometimes it's just an introduction, sometimes it's a short call, that's what it's all about, and it goes really quick. And if I get a reference from somebody from IESE, for me it's somebody that I know has a high level of professionalism and also has a reputation. So I value that a lot.
And Victor, have you had an experience with IESE alum helping you in one way or another?
Yes, absolutely. So I think when you leave these worlds, like you have this commitment that with the IESE alumni network, and maybe we're saying before, maybe because it's a smaller school than other schools, but there's kind of this feeling of commitment that whenever an alumni would contact you, I wouldn't doubt if I can help in trying to do that, right? And I think it's something general in the alumni community, and definitely I'd say it's one of the assets of these schools, and totally agree, like the people of your promotion that is going to be very close, right, and you would keep in contact with them, but then there's these all other promotions that people that you don't know, but just because the fact that you are IESE alumni, you try to help, right, in anything that you can.
So Chris, you get calls from alumni or students?
Sometimes, yes, I do. No, it's true. You usually try to answer as fast as possible because you also you need one day to have a contact to another one.
Sure.
To be answered and to be helped in that way. So it's a mutual understanding. I think all the alumni have it at the IESE, and that's true. I do agree that it's maybe because it's a smaller business school, but in general, given that it has been open for it was founded in the 60s, they opened the program, right? So you can contact whoever you want throughout.
64 was the first tier MBA in Europe, and I guess it was in 1963, Harvard Business School and IESE had a strategic alliance that led to the MBA program the next year, Here's an interesting question. What skills does the school not teach that you wish it had? Anyone want to tackle that?
So, there's one thing that I had to learn when I finished the MBA. I think it's very difficult to teach it in an MBA, and it was practical leadership. Like, what do I mean? Like, I got very well-founded leadership theory in the MBA program. But then when I joined Amazon, I was leading a group of associates, like 100 associates in my shift. Had no clue how to do that, right? And it was all the theory that I learned was very useful, but I had to get some pain during the first months and hit the wall and fail and learn learn this practice of leadership for the first few months, right? Not sure, or at least I'm not able to figure out a way to teach that in MBA schools, but definitely was something that I had to learn outside it.
Sure. Chris, was there any skill that you wish you had learned here that you didn't?
Well, I do agree with Victor. It's true that sometimes you have got all the theory, but then putting it into practice, it requires time, and it's probably also why it's not taught in that sense here.
Yeah.
And also that was not really taught, but you get to live with it, was the cultural exchange. So I'm working now with companies from different countries, and there are differences in how do I tackle this or that. It's not something you're learning in class by itself because you have a professor there teaching you, but something you learn because you're living with them.
Right.
And you're living with your team. There's usually, I think it was limited how many people from one nationality it could be, from one language. So you get it out without having it really taught in class.
There's a famous saying in America that says, how do you get to Carnegie Hall, which is a great concert hall in New York City? And the answer is you practice, you practice, you practice, right? So I'm assuming that at this school there are many clubs and there are many organizations where you can practice your leadership skills. And I'm sure that the three of you may have been involved in some of these clubs. Can you talk about those experiences and how they helped you practice the skills of working with people that may have helped you later on? Timo?
Yeah, I was actually captain of the sports team, so
Ah.
we prepared. We went. There's an event that we started back then. It was like a Spring Fling, which was a tournament between all the different MBA schools, and so it was not only leading the entire MBA team of IESE, but also organizing the event where we invited, I think, 4 or 5 other business schools. So that was definitely organization and leadership.
What was your sport?
I played tennis, I played soccer, and beach volleyball.
Wow, 3.
3, yes.
Were you any good?
There was another tournament in Paris. This is organized by at HEC. It's another business school.
Yeah, the Olympics.
So actually, that one we won with the IESE,
Oh, wow.
and we won in almost like 60% of all the competitions. So,
Well done, well
so
done.
that was pretty good.
That's fantastic.
I mean, Barcelona has an advantage to the northern countries that we can do sports all around, right?
That's true.
So all year round. It's a big advantage of this location.
Absolutely.
We haven't talked about this because this is a great advantage to be in this vivid city, and Barcelona is on an uptake, and it's very international. It's very attractive for investment, big technology startup scene, and I know IESE is more and more integrating also with this scene, so that's perfect.
Victor, were you a part of a club or organization that helped you?
Yeah, so I was in the sports club as well, and actually, so I was in the triathlon sports club that we started actually the year before I joined, and that year we were the first year that we started what we called Fun Run event, which was a running race of 10 kilometers up here in the mountains in Collserola, which is beside IESE. Again, it was kind of a challenging organization because it was semi-protected area, so we had to get a lot of permissions and work with different organizations outside the MBA, and then trying to get people signed in and participating in that initiative, and then consolidating it so that other future MBAs would take that, and it's something that would stay for a few years here in IESE.
Chris, what were you involved in?
Well, I was actually in the football club, which was, but we're not
Oh,
going
we
to
have
talk
3
about
athletes here. My
Yeah.
goodness.
And it was a lot of fun, but I have to say I was horrible.
No.
Soccer, yes. But it was a lot of fun, and it helped you because you get to know the people outside of
Absolutely.
IESE. So, and it's usually the girls were trained by our classmates, so it bonds you a lot, and it's a fun way to what to do once a week. And then you participate in the spring games, or you try to do the fun run, which was also when I was there, the 5 or 10K. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
But maybe it would be good to add that they're not only sports club here at IESE.
Yes, indeed.
For example, we in our year we started doing good, doing well conference, which is I think still going on, and it's the reference conference within the business schools in terms of let's say NGO and anything that has to do with non-for-profit organization. Then there are consulting clubs, there's entrepreneurs club, etc. So there's a lot of business-related clubs as well.
And that reminds me of a point I wanted to bring up. This whole notion of doing good in the world and having a positive contribution. Isn't that antithetical to making a lot of money and being an MBA?
So I would say not necessarily, right? The fact that you have an MBA and you have a job with a responsibility in your company means that you have the chance to making an impact. Like you will make an impact because you will make decisions that will influence how other people live. And then it's in your hands if you want to have this positive impact or negative impact, right? And then is where ethics come into play as well, and you decide if you want to do the right thing. And I agree, like sometimes by doing the wrong thing, you can make more money out of it, and then say like aligned with what we learned here in this school is, that these values, it's not necessarily. Sometimes there will be trade-offs, and then you need to decide what is the right thing to do. But definitely you will have a responsibility that will impact other people's lives, and then you decide if you want to have a positive impact or not.
How does the school teach that, Chris?
Well, you have the ethics class, I think, and it's not about just the ethics class. Everything, the decision making, the economics, the trade-offs. You always have that in mind, and you have to be aware that any of your actions have consequences. Maybe you don't even notice them, but others you will, and they may be positive or negative. And in any case, in order for a business to be sustainable, which is what everybody wants to be in the long term, you need to try to do a positive impact and to be loyal to yourself and your work ethics, which is also what makes you as a professional. The leader you are.
Timo, as a founder and a CEO, are these values that you try to instill in your company, and how difficult is it to do that and still be very competitive?
Mm-hmm. Actually, at Cooltra we did a tremendous change, especially in the last 6 years. We are changing our entire fleet to electric. So now, this year, we have 54% of our fleet is electric, meaning that we have the biggest electric vehicle fleet in whole Europe. And by that, we are really doing an incredible impact to the local environment in the cities where we work. It's then about how you touch the topic of human resources, and that's not about the money. It's about how you lead them, how much flexibility you give them, how you recruit them. And you were asking also how does IESE implement that, and I think how they do it is by the actual selection process of the students. Right. Because that's how you have the impact, and that's how you get the value in this classroom. And there you will see there is a certain, you see it in the sport games, no? When we compete against the other schools, you can see a difference. It's just there are people that fit in here, and there are people that fit in other business schools. And so I think that's why when we started this whole conversation today, we said, how would you decide? I think the best way is to go here, talk to as many people as you can, and make the decision if you fit in this environment.
Good advice. So I have one last internet question to ask. This is kind of an intriguing question, and there may be overlap among the answers you're going to give. the person asks, what 3 skills do employers find more important today than several years ago? Since you're recruiting and hiring, Timo, why don't you start? What are the 3 skills that you find more important today than they used to be?
Yeah,
in the
okay.
past?
I will just tell you what are for us the 3 most important things. First of all, the motivation, right? It's the attitude, it's the energy, right? Second, relevant experience. This doesn't mean at all you have to have worked in an important company or not. It's basically what you bring, but relevant experience can also, if you're a team leader, could be that you have been organizing or leading or working on a cruise ship. It doesn't have to be in a specific work environment. And third, it's about what we try to find out is how people are taking decisions and has taken decisions in the past. So we have a certain methodology in our interviews to learn how have people been taking decisions, because that's what we ask them to do in our company. So we try to find out these things. So motivation, relevant work experience, and decision-making skills.
And, Victor, you're hiring people every day, aren't you? Because Amazon is growing every day. So what do you have to say about that question?
So let's say 3 things as well. I would say 2 of them. Actually, I don't know what was the industry practice, right, a few years ago. But let's say from 5 years that I have been in the company, there are 2 things, or 2 of them that haven't changed. That is people who are able to solve complex analytical problems. So let's say strong analytical skills. That's the first one. Second one is leadership skills, and not necessarily linked to experience. There are some people that would have these leadership skills, but at the age of 23 or 30, they just haven't had the chance to put them in practice. And we kind of try to identify these rough diamonds. And then the third one, and this one I have realized the change since I joined the company, is people that are curious and that are able to learn new things fast, because the pace at which things are changing now is definitely way higher than what it used to be 5 years ago. And specifically in Amazon, the evolution that we are having and how our tools and our business is changing, we need people that are able to adapt very fast to these new circumstances and learn how the business is going to in a very, very fast way.
Chris, last words?
I do agree with them. So we've shifted from a pure experience to capabilities and attitude. What are we looking for, and also the emotional intelligence behind it. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I had a conversation with the admissions people over lunch today, and they've shifted from competencies to potential. So instead of looking at how competent people are in any given skill level before they get admitted, they're looking at the potential to develop someone that's going to be very valuable. That's a kind of interesting shift as well in terms of what you look for. I would imagine many employers are looking at the same thing. Yes, you want a certain skill set from which to grow from, but your growth is extremely important, and that really aligns with how fast business is changing and how you need to be adaptive to those changes to be successful in it. So, hey, let me thank all of you. You were terrific and great representatives for the school. I hope all of you out there got a lot out of this. So, Timo, thank you. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Victor, thank you.
Thank you.
Much success in your future. I'll be waiting for your IPO. I'll be waiting for Chris to be the CEO of her skincare company. And Victor, I want to see a picture of you side by side with Jeff Bezos soon. All right, thank you for joining us on the campus of VSA. It's been a great conversation. I'm John Brennan with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.